Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a rapidly escalating, incredibly complex military and economic crisis that's unfolding in the Middle East right now. We are looking at the geopolitical battle for the Strait of Hormuz, a conflict that is literally rewriting the rules of global trade and security in real time.
So, I want you to think about this for a second. What actually happens when the world's most critical energy artery turns into an active war zone? It's so easy to take the seamless flow of global shipping for granted. We just expect goods and fuel to move silently across the oceans and power our lives. But this crisis, it forces us to confront the incredible fragility of that supply chain. When a major geopolitical flashpoint suddenly erupts, it creates a bottleneck that hits almost every single economy on Earth.
Let's anchor the immediate stakes here. $86. The absolute second this crisis flared up, the price of international benchmark Brent crude oil shot to a one-month high of over $86 a barrel. And look, that isn't just some number flashing on a trading terminal, it is a real-time indicator of global panic. This price spike threatens to drive up costs absolutely everywhere, sending a massive signal to markets that the world's energy lifeline is under severe threat.
Section 1. The Clash over Hormuz. Okay, so in July 2026, the United States formally notified Congress that hostilities against Iran had resumed, and President Trump announced the reinstatement of a U.S. naval blockade on Iranian ports. The whole environment just instantly shifted from a tense standoff into a battle for active control over the waterway. Now we're seeing these dueling claims for jurisdiction. On one hand, you have the U.S. administration declaring itself the guardian angel of the Strait of Hormuz, asserting they will maintain control and ensure passage for all non-Iranian business. On the other hand, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has declared that Iran has always been the guardian of the strait and will remain so, quote, forever. Both nations are aggressively asserting their jurisdiction over commercial vessels. So global shipping companies are now forced to navigate not just a physical strait, but this incredibly complex web of competing international demands.
Section 2. The 20% transit fee.
Now here's the unprecedented policy shift sending shockwaves through the industry. The U.S. has announced a plan to charge a 20% reimbursement fee on all non-Iranian cargo. Essentially, they're attempting to turn a natural global ocean waterway into an incredibly expensive toll road to cover their military operations in the region. The market impact here is huge. A 20% fee on cargo value is expected to inflate the landed price of oil by roughly $15 to $20 per barrel. To put that into perspective, sure, man-made waterways like the Suez Canal do have tolls, but this proposed fee is exponentially higher. It's practically upending the entire established concept of freedom of navigation.
Well, as you can probably guess, the international pushback has been swift. Maritime experts argue there is simply no legal basis to introduce mandatory tolls just for transiting an international strait. The United Nations International Maritime Organization is emphasizing that established norms and international law, specifically the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, dictate that passages like this absolutely must remain free of tolls. This policy has totally blindsided the shipping markets and is drawing really sharp criticism globally.
Section 3. Kinetic warfare in the Strait. We have to talk about the sheer speed of this escalation, because it's staggering. Hostilities officially resumed on July 7th, and it took mere days for the situation to completely combust. By July 13th, the U.S. military had conducted 3 consecutive nights of strikes on Iranian positions, including the use of sea drones. Right around the same time, the UAE Ministry of Defense reported that Iranian cruise missiles struck 2 oil tankers, the MT Bahiyah and the MT Mombasa, while they were transiting the southern lane of the strait in Omani territorial waters. And then by July 14th, Iran claimed retaliatory strikes against U.S. assets in Bahrain and Jordan. This is a very active kinetic reality. And tragically, it comes with a human cost. The strikes on the commercial tankers resulted in the death of an Indian seafarer and injured multiple other crew members.
The immediate result of all this violence, transit levels through the Strait of Hormuz have plummeted to a one-month low. We're seeing a massive chilling effect on the shipping industry. Vessels are actively bailing out to avoid the crossfire, and the ones that do cross are facing surging war risk insurance premiums. The physical flow of global trade is quite literally grinding to a halt in this sector.
Section 4. A vital global choke point.
To truly grasp the gravity of those transit levels plummeting, we need to zoom out. Why does control over the Strait of Hormuz matter so profoundly to the rest of the world? Just think about the immense physical scale of the infrastructure here. We are talking about massive oil terminals, sprawling storage tanks, and a constant heavy stream of tanker traffic. It perfectly captures the staggering volume of energy required to power the global economy, and the incredible reality that so much of it has to squeeze through a waterway that is remarkably narrow at its pinch point.
Because this isn't just a regional trade route. 20% of global petroleum consumption relies entirely on this one corridor. That is roughly 20 million barrels of oil moving through here every single day. On top of that, about a fifth of the world's liquefied natural gas, or LNG, shipments ride this exact same route. When a choke point responsible for 20% of the world's oil and LNG is effectively shut down or severely restricted, that's not a regional issue, it is an automatic global emergency.
Section 5. The economic ripple effect.
Now we have to bring this geopolitical conflict directly home to our wallets, because what happens in the Strait definitely doesn't stay in the Strait. The economic ripple effects are already hitting the highest levels. The International Monetary Fund has proactively cut its 2026 global growth forecasts, specifically citing the fallout from this exact conflict. Financial markets are experiencing intensified risk aversion, and inflation fears, they've aggressively returned. When energy prices surge like this, it creates downstream impacts on related products. Fertilizer, plastics, even semiconductors. We're witnessing structural shocks to the entire global economic architecture.
Let's make this global economic pain hyper-specific. $9 billion. If the proposed 20% U.S. transit fee is fully implemented, analysts project it could cost the Indian economy an additional $9 billion annually, just for oil imports. India imports vast quantities of crude oil, LNG, and LPG through the strait. Because the fee inflates the landed cost of a barrel of oil by roughly $15, large importers are facing a devastating mathematical reality. They have to prioritize supply security over price, leading to massive, unexpected spikes in their national import bills.
Petyokoeva Brooks, the deputy director of the IMF's research department, recently summarized the current state of the global economy, and I think she hit the nail on the head. The global economy is basically bending under the weight of severe geopolitical fragmentation, specifically these massive energy shocks from the Middle East, yet at the exact same time it's being held up and propelled forward by this powerful technology-driven investment boom heavily tied to the AI supercycle. It is literally a world economy being pulled in two entirely opposite directions.
So we're going to end this explainer with a question that I think we all need to be asking ourselves right now. As this geopolitical risk premium becomes permanently priced into our energy, our goods, and our daily lives, is the era of seamless global energy trade officially over? Have we entered a new paradigm where the free flow of goods is no longer a guarantee, but a highly contested, incredibly expensive privilege? It's a profound structural shift, and it is unfolding right before our eyes. Thanks so much for joining me today to unpack the geopolitical battle for Hormuz. See you next time.